has made this one of Britain's most famous UFO encounters. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest that even more compelling is what happened after.
I would say that we have a secret military base out west of us, and a lot of the sightings are actual human experiments. And then secondly, UFOs observing.
Expecting to find, I don't know, USAF, something like that. And what I find is glyphs, pictorial glyphs, making no sense at all.
What's happening, guys? Jared Bronstein here, and today we're counting down the top 10 places to hunt aliens besides Area 51. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and at the end of this video, let me know which spot you think is most likely to have an alien presence. So starting us off at number 10, we got Aurora, Texas. More specifically, the Aurora Cemetery, where to this very day, there's a common belief amongst those in the small town that an alien is buried on the grounds. The story goes back to April 19, 1897, when a handful of residents claimed a UFO came flying through the sky, crashed into a windmill, and eventually crashed into the ground. Locals who were near the scene went to pull out the pilot from the wreckage, who unfortunately died during the crash. However, the locals that dragged the body described it as petite and Martian, which has many wondering if it was an alien or not. The body was buried and to this day is still believed to be there. Although there have been attempts in the past to dig up the grave, many are against this idea, with some locals even threatening members of the International UFO Bureau with guns. Yeah, it's pretty serious. It's fair to mention other people are buried there as well, so many locals want the deceased, possibly relatives or old friends, to rest in peace.
I think they've been aware of what really happened at Aurora and have been keeping tabs on it.
At number 9, we got Monument Park, also known as the site of the first historically true UFO encounter in the US. Cars aren't even allowed to drive through this bridge located in Sheffield, Massachusetts. The story goes as follows. On September 1st, 1969, Thom Reed claims him and his family were abducted by aliens out of their car for a brief moment before being sent back to the car. I know it sounds crazy, but let's just roll with it. Reed claims he and his mother, grandmother, and brother saw a bright light rise out of the water of the Housatonic River after they crossed the bridge. Then he claims they were taken from their cars and taken to what seemed to be an airplane hangar where they saw beings that resembled insects. Reed then claims he was separated from the rest of his family and taken to a strange room, but could still hear his family calling for him. And then all of a sudden they all appeared back in the car. It sounds wild, but when Reed took a lie detector test, it turned out to be 99.1% truthful. Approximately 40 people also reported strange lights and a saucer-like object in the sky that night, and eventually the Great Barrington Historical Society voted 6-3 to recognize the encounter as, I quote, historically significant and true.
This plaque, I think, says it all. This commemorative monument is dedicated to the following: the official induction of our nation's first off-world UFO incident.
Coming in at number 8, Voronezh, Russia. This is where the Voronezh UFO incident happened on September 27th, 1989. The story here is that a group of kids were playing at a park when they saw a pink glow in the sky, and then a red ball about 10 yards in diameter circle around, disappear, then reappear. It's believed a crowd rushed to the site where they saw a three-eyed alien approximately 10 feet tall. Here's where things get a little wacky. Apparently a 16-year-old screamed in fear, which then caused the alien to look at him dead in the eyes. The boy then completely froze and stood there silently, and the alien and UFO disappeared. The alien then allegedly came back with what looked like a pistol with a 20-inch long tube, pointed it at the frozen 16-year-old and made him disappear. The alien then once again went back into the UFO, which took off, and the boy reappeared. Although a scientist, Dr. Silanov, claims the boys who saw the incident made no mention of its height, and their accounts on what the alien looked like didn't match at all. He also explained the red UFO ball they saw was most likely a piece of iron oxide, which could have originated on Earth. However, according to the article that claimed all of this, their phone connection with Dr. Silanov was abruptly cut before he could answer more questions. I don't know, it seems kinda odd if you ask me. At number 7, my favorite number, the most famous UFO sighting in the US, the Roswell Incident. Back in 1947, it's believed a US Air Force balloon crashed at a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. Originally, the balloon, which resembled that of a flying disc, was thought to be an alien aircraft. At the time, the US government claimed it to be a conventional weather balloon, but in the 1990s they published 2 reports claiming it was a nuclear test surveillance balloon for Project Mogul, a government operation that saw the US Army attach microphones to hot air balloons in hopes of detecting sound waves generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests. Although it seems this incident has been debunked more than once, there have been hundreds of claims, some obviously more believable than others, claiming the government is trying to hide something. I mean, they did somewhat lie about the incident when it first happened, admitting almost maybe 50 years later the real reasoning behind the whole situation and the crash. So who's to say in the next 50 years they won't admit it was all a cover-up for them to learn more about extraterrestrial life? Gets one thinking. And if you don't want to wait 50 years, just go to the infamous ranch in Roswell. Coming to number 6, we got Wycliffe Well, the UFO capital of Australia. It's believed during World War II, servicemen living in the area started keeping records in an old binder of UFOs they'd see nightly. Eventually someone got hold of the book and the theories and stories spread like wildfire. Originally just a pit stop for those traveling through Australia, a man by the name of Lou Farkas heard about the phenomenon and saw it as a great business opportunity. He turned what was once a fuel stop into what now looks like an old alien amusement park. To this day, their brochure reads, I quote, "UFO sightings are so common that if you stayed up all night looking, you would be considered unlucky not to see anything rather than lucky to see something," end quote. So it seems like this went from a potential UFO sighting spot to a cash grab. Either way, if there were reports dating back to the 1940s regarding sightings, I think it's worth looking into, especially since Lou didn't arrive in Wycliffe until 1985.
I mean, a lot of places around the world and thousands of places had sightings of one format or another, and then that's it, all over and done with. But here, I mean, it's continuous.
Halfway through the list, we now find ourselves at number 5. The Freedom Tunnel in New York City. What was once a train station made in the 1930s, which would be used until the 1980s, when it became a home for what many called the Mole People, I think the Freedom Tunnel could be a perfect spot for aliens. After trains stopped running and New York City had a drug and crime epidemic in the 1980s, hundreds of homeless people built what many considered an underground town. Although there have been tons of myths and legends about the place, as well as different accounts as to what it used to be like, Amtrak bought the land to put to use. To this day, if you're caught on the grounds, it could be considered trespassing and you could be arrested. But if humans were able to live underground with very little sunlight for a couple of decades, well, it gets me wondering what else could possibly be hiding out down there. It is fair to say trains do still run to this day down there by Amtrak, but I don't know. I believe something a little extraterrestrial could be down there. Number 4, Area 51's little brother, Area 6. No one actually calls it that, I just thought it'd be funny. Its security isn't nearly as tight as Area 51's, and it's located just 12 miles northeast of the infamous US Air Base. Although not much is known about the government base, it's believed Area 6 is where aircraft tests for the likes of the Department of Defense and Homeland Security happen. The base itself was built sometime in the 1950s, and it's believed it was previously used for underground nuclear testing. Between 1950 and 1992, approximately 4 nuclear tests and 6 detonations happened. And then in 2005, a 5,000-foot runway was built, but not much is known about it. Maybe Area 51 is where the aliens were, but they got moved to Area 6, a much less secure base, which was a tactic to throw us off. Maybe we should switch that storm to Storm Area 6 instead.
In 2005, another secret area was built. It has no official name and is so obscure that few people have ever even heard of it, including defense industry officials. It's simply known as Area 6.
We're now into the top 3, meaning if you're actually on the hunt for aliens, these are the places to go. Some are a little easier to get to than others, but you can be the judge of that yourself. So in at number 3, Rendlesham Forest. Also known as Britain's Roswell Incident, in December of 1980, a security patrol at the United States Air Force, which had a base located nearby, saw lights descending into the forest. Although astronomers have attributed the lights to just burning debris, many believe something extraterrestrial landed in the forest. Upon being investigated, it was claimed that the light moved through the trees, and animals on a nearby farm apparently went into a frenzy. Although the police were called and a small investigation was done, the UK Ministry of Defence stated the event posed no threat to national security, so they never looked too much into it. Of course, to this day, there are many wondering what happened, with most saying it was a misidentified natural cause, such as a fireball or a star, or even some nocturnal lights. But that wouldn't explain the spike in radiation or the markings on the ground. It's weird. I think there's aliens there.
Instead of finding a logical explanation, they discovered high levels of radioactivity where Burroughs and Peniston had previously seen the strange craft, and 3 impact holes in the ground.
In at number 2, Emilcin, Poland. Now you may be asking, why would you go to a small village in Poland to find aliens? Well, this is where an alien abduction allegedly happened, and Jan Wolski was the man who lived to tell the tale. The story here is simple. A farmer named Jan was out one day when he was jumped by, I quote, short, green-faced humanoid entities, end quote, approximately 5 feet tall. Apparently these figures jumped into Jan's cart, which was led by a horse, and started speaking in a different language. He was then directed to a large hovering object, taken on board, examined, and then returned to his family. Following the incident, Jan brought his family and neighbors to the site, where his sons claimed they saw footprints. A 6-year-old boy also claims to have seen a bus-like hovercraft vanish into the sky, and in 1990 Jan would pass away. In 2005, a memorial was constructed in Emilcin, which reads, "On May 10, 1978 in Emilcin, a UFO object landed. The truth will astonish us in the future, end quote. Sounds like a good place to find aliens if you ask me. But then again, you know, you can't really mess with cemeteries, so maybe we shouldn't go there. I don't know. And finally at number 1, well, this really shouldn't come as a surprise to many, but the best place to find an alien or aliens, outer space. As big as our world is, and with all the technology we have, it seems we're constantly advancing and finding out more and more. And we've been going at it for thousands of years. I'm not even talking about aliens, I mean just technology in general. But the fact that we haven't found aliens on Earth doesn't mean they aren't here, it just means we haven't found them yet. However, in most theories or cases, it seems like these things come from the sky. So who's to say they aren't living on another planet we haven't discovered? Or explored? Or maybe they're in another galaxy. We won't know until we have the ability to look and see. So for now, I'd say travel the Earth and go to the places previously mentioned in this video. And if nothing turns up, well, then I'd say get your space engine fueled up and let's go. And that does it for the top 10 places to hunt for aliens besides Area 51. You guys gotta let me know which places stood out the most and which you think you could actually have some sort of alien presence in the comments down below. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. Be sure to follow the IO team on Instagram, hit that subscribe button, and share the video with a friend if you enjoyed it, as well as give it a good old thumbs up. We'll see you guys in the next one.